And I do open,
Oh, okay. I don't know why yours is red.
supposed to be. I do open with an opening prayer to give thanks for the contribution by our pioneers, early settlers, and for those who fought in the various wars for the fabric of Tennille community we have today. May the words of our mouths and the meditation of our hearts be accepted in thy sight, O Lord. Amen. The acknowledgement of country, I would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of this land that we're meeting on today. I would also like to pay respect to elders past, present and emerging of the Yuckabull, Kamilaroi and Bundjalung nations and extend that respect to other Aboriginal people present. Councillors, we don't have any apologies. Everyone's here. Disclosures and declarations of interest. We do have one, but it's to do with our main meeting, and I'll deal with that then. We move on to our open councillor reports. We deal with the first one, councillors, in your agenda to do with our extraordinary meeting on page 5, with item GOV 54/19, election of Deputy Mayor 2019-2020. We're saying that. Kerry, could you come forward? And I'd like to welcome Kerry Swain from Jennings and Conniping. Welcome again, Kerry. Come and do the official part of this part of our meeting. Councillors, we have 1 and 2, and obviously we need a move and a seconder to make that official. There's a gap there, so we'll just move it and then we vote on it after the election of the Deputy Mayor. So can I have a mover and a seconder, please, for the officer's recommendation? Councillor Verry, I thank you. Seconded by Councillor Tom Peters, and I thank you. So, Kerry, I'll hand over to you.
Thank you, Mayor Petty. Good morning, everybody. Now, I've only received 1 nomination. Does anyone believe that that's not right? So the nomination I've received is from Councillor Greg Sawyer. So if there's no further nominations, I declare Mr Sawyer the Deputy Mayor.
Congratulations, Greg.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kerry. So, okay, there's the officer's recommendation. In the following election, the returning officer declared that Councillor Greg Sawyer be elected as Deputy Mayor for the period of September 2019 to 2020. All in favour? It was unanimous. There you go. Before we go on to the next, just on a note, as Mayor, I do congratulate you, Greg, and I thank you for the last 12 months of being Deputy. We've worked really well as a team, and you've been there all deputised for me on many occasions, my friend, and I really appreciate it. You've done it on short notice, and you've done it with utmost professionalism, as a Deputy Mayor should. And I'll always battle for the money we get paid. As the Deputy Mayor should be another allowance there, and no, it's something the other councillors agree, because it is an important position, and it's something that we need to work with local government all the time, that it is recognised, because it's an important position. But I do thank you, and I wish you well for the next 12 months, and I look forward to working with you as a team as we do. Thank you. Councillors, on page 8, we'll move on to item GOV 55/19. It's council delegations on committees, external boards and associations. Can I have a mover and a seconder here, please? Councillor Sawyer, I thank you. Seconded by Councillor Murray, and I thank you.
Thanks, Mr Mayor.
Yep.
As we did 12 months ago, I'd like to propose that unless someone particularly wants to move from one committee they're on, or add themselves or get elected to another committee, in the interest of saving time, we're in the last year of 4 years and most people are fairly well entrenched on the committees they're working on. So I propose that unless someone really does want to move from one portfolio into another one, or just add one or drop out of one, we deal with them as a total, and the situation as it is now remains.
Thank you, Councillor Sawyer. Any other comment on that? Councillor Bronwyn, yes?
Yep.
Yep, please.
Yeah, no, I'd support that, except there's a vacancy in that Youth Advisory Committee.
Apologise, Councillor.
So they've got a... So the Youth Advisory one is...
Oh, the Council adopt the inclusion of New Pacific Purpose Committee being the Youth Advisory Committee and determine representation thereon. A good point, Councillor. Thank you. How do we want to make this work, councillors? Because we have had a good start, and as I indicated that day with meeting with the leaders of the high school, we're probably headed for somewhere in November, I thought, to actually get that rolling. So How do we want to run that? And obviously, yes, the mayor will be on it, but do you want just one or two, or how do you want to do it? What's your thoughts? What would we stand? Have you had any experience with that, Mr. CEO? You haven't? Kyle, no? In previous, you have an advisory?
Usually, once again, it's whoever wishes to actually serve on that
Okay.
committee, so depending on the portfolio, there's no limit.
Thank you, councillor Brumman. Councillor Verry, yes?
I was going to suggest that we have 2 councillors and the mayor.
Yep, happy to do that. So councillor Brumman, I'll take your nomination that you'd like to go on the youth advisory, and thank you, you'll be very good. Yes? Councillor
I
Sawyer?
also would nominate for that. Thanks, Mr
Thanks,
Mayor.
thanks, Mr Deputy Mayor. Councillor Sawyer? So there's our two. Everyone happy with that? Okay. So it'd be that with one, that being Youth Advisory Committee determined the representation, that it be the Mayor, the Deputy Mayor and Councillor Bronwyn Petrie. So all happy with all the other committees? All good? Righto. Recommendations there, councillors? No, with the Youth Advisory, do we have to do that as a separate
No,
motion?
it's all part of that
Okay,
motion.
good. All in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you, councillors. Councillors, move on to page 12 in the extraordinary agenda. It's item GOV 56/19. Council meetings, order of business and scheduled meetings for the 2/19/20 calendar. Got a move and a second to deal with this, please. Councillor Michael Petrie, thank you. Second by Councillor Bronwyn Petrie, and I thank you. The officer's recommendations there, councillors, so any comment, change? Councillor Verry, yes?
I'd like to delete item 4.
Pre-meeting briefing session, 8:30 to, well, good point, councillor, good discussion there, of 30 minutes. So item 4, councillors, and Noreen, I'm happy for you to speak to this. This has come from the new meeting procedure.
The new code of meeting.
New coding meeting procedure, that pre-meeting briefing sessions commence at 8:30 a.m. of 30 minutes duration to be held prior to ordinary, extraordinary council meetings. It is, and I have noted, if you go on to page 13, the pre-meeting briefing sessions, and happy to take some advice here through you, Mr CE, as per Code 3.31 and Code 3.32 and 3.33 of the Code meeting procedure, a pre-briefing session may be arranged to brief councillors. So it's not something that needs to be in cement. Do you want to comment there, Mr CE?
Three, Mr Mayor, I'd ask the Chief Corporate Officer to comment on it.
Kylie, thank you.
Look, the only comment that I'd add is that we've got a code of meeting practice that we adopted previously that actually has that in there. So if council was of a mind not to include that, that we actually bring back that code of meeting practice and amend that in its entirety. So that's where it comes from.
Okay.
So our code of meeting doesn't say no, it says it must.
It's now included in our code of meeting practice that we will. So we adopted the code of meeting practice and made the appropriate changes that we'd like as to how we'd like those meetings to run. So at the moment it's actually in there. If we go back and change that the council, we just simply delete those sections from there.
Right. We have got a few hands here. We'll go to Councillor Peters.
Yeah,
I'll just deal with it. We're dealing with an amendment, and thank you, Noreen. So Councillor Verry is moved an amendment that we take number 4 out, being the mover. That, can I have a second of that? Because that's what we're dealing with at the moment. Councillor Sawyer, and thank you, Noreen. Thank you, Councillor Sawyer. Now, Councillor Peters.
Thank you, Mr Mayor.
So we're dealing with number 4.
Yeah.
Yep.
Originally, we had that before.
Yep.
And the Local Government Association scrapped it, if you remember.
Oh, yeah, anyway, yeah. I'm aware of that, yeah.
Because the public weren't allowed into that meeting. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
I'm just wondering why it's back in the agenda.
I can't answer that, councillor. It's in the new meeting, but it needed to be used for the right purposes, and I do believe, if I can share a bit of history with you, we had an acting GM at the time. He took it out because it was used for inappropriate things at some stages, I think. And that's my personal view, and not for what it should have been. Yeah. So, just, there was some other hands down here. Councillor McNish, yes.
Yeah, I was going to say just what Councillor Peters said. I think it was Glenn Inglis who took it out.
That's exactly right,
It was
Councillor.
deemed illegal because the reason being that the debate was held in closed council.
That's right.
And just the decision was made in the open council, and the public didn't have the opportunity to listen to
Yep.
the reasons for
Yep.
the decision that was made. So,
Yep.
but I was under the impression a couple of years ago that and the local government changed it to make it, deemed it not illegal.
To have the briefing
To
session.
have the briefing session if you wish.
Yeah.
Is that my correct there, or did I dream that?
Nope. Kylie, answer, councillor.
So you're quite correct, it's still not a mechanism for voting. I think the rationale behind it is that once councillors have received their business paper in its entirety, that's an opportunity for people to ask questions on any of those reports. It is not intended to engage in a debate nor to actually move any motions. It's purely as councillors have the opportunity to review their business papers if there are questions of the staff or that they need to be able to make a decision. That's the intention.
I'll go to you, councillor Rogan.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. I've just got a question, if I may. It says it's not to be used for debate or to make any preliminary decisions, and it also says a pre-briefing session may be arranged. So I'd like to know who would decide. If that was left in, doesn't mean we have to have a pre-briefing session, but if we do, who makes that decision?
Well, if I can just go there first, councillor, we make the decision here today. And if it is, that wouldn't, correct me if I'm wrong, Kylie, that would be every meeting would start at 8:30 with a briefing session. So I hope I'm on track there. Kylie would just have some comment, councillor.
No, so that's fine. So if you adopt it, you would have that. If you choose not to have that, then the briefing sessions wouldn't be held.
Yeah, we make the decision here.
What
Well,
Bob's
I'm
saying-
sorry.
No, but what he's,
So I can explain it?
Yeah.
Well, thanks.
Councillor Bob?
Sorry, Brom.
Give us your 2 bobs worth.
No, that's right. Sorry if I was misunderstood.
No.
It says may be arranged.
Yep.
So if we adopt that,
Yep.
what I'm asking is, does that mean that we don't have to have a pre-briefing session? We could come across a meeting some halfway through the year where someone might decide that we really need a briefing session for this. So can we have them just for individual meetings, or does it have to be across the board? Every meeting has a pre-briefing session. And if we can just pick and choose, who makes that decision? Sorry, that was what I was asking.
Okay. So I'll go to the CE and possibly Kylie for some comment, councillor.
It wouldn't be a good idea, as far as the administration arm goes, being the arbiter of what gets discussed and what doesn't. It's either got to be all or nothing, because I'd imagine that the simple things wouldn't be something that would require discussion, and the more complex things would. And as the CEO, I don't want to be the person to make that decision, because it could be construed by those who want to take pot shots as me unduly trying to influence council.
Yeah, I'll allow councillor.
Sorry, one more.
Yeah, good.
Given that, then, I would support us taking this out.
Yep.
Because at the moment, it seems to me our meetings seem to work really well. We do all have our business papers, etc. So I don't think it should be in there.
Yep.
Thanks.
Councillor, I do commend you, because you're using your comments here in we are dealing with an amendment, so I'm looking for speakers for and against. So I do commend you on the way you viewed that and then questions that you put forward. So I do. Councillor Bromman.
yeah, just from that discussion, what Kylie said before is that the legislation says we may,
Yep.
but because we've already adopted a code of meeting practice, it says we will.
Yep.
So from what Councillor Rogan's question is that, we may do it and therefore we could pick and choose. No, we can't, because our current code of meeting practice that we've adopted apparently actually says that we will. So therefore, the legislation says we can choose whether we do or we don't.
Yep.
And if we take Gary's amendment,
Yep.
Councillor Berry's amendment, that we choose not to adopt this,
Yep.
do we need a clause in here
Yep.
to say we will alter our code of meeting practice
Yep.
accordingly?
Good question.
So if you were to include within a notice of motion that the code of meeting practice be amended as required, then Nolan can make those amendments not to include the briefing sessions within there, and then we'll simply upload it back to the website.
Okay. Before I go to Councillor Berry for some close to do with the amendment, is there any other questions, comment to do with what we're dealing with? No? Councillor Berry.
I'd just like to say, when we had this before, it wasn't viewed by the public as a good thing. They were under the opinion that the council does all the business there and then at the closed session, and they don't get to hear it.
Yep.
Now, the same thing does happen in one of the other councils across the border that I'm aware of, and the same thing is seen by the people. Everything's done in secret.
Yep.
And to have open government, which I believe in, I think we've got the best of both worlds at the moment.
Yep.
And we're as open as we can get, as far as I can see.
Open and transparent, councillor.
Yeah, except for our confidential meetings, which I'm not really fussed with either.
But the recommendation's always made public, councillor. Yes. So it is. Councillor, before I go to the vote to do with the amendment, I do commend the councillors on the comments being made. I need to be supportive of where we're at today. I think that with comments you've made, Councillor Rogan, how our meetings do go, and I think that we are in a pretty good place. Whether they be too long or too short, it doesn't matter, but the decisions that come out of this council, I'm very proud of. I think that everyone gets their say, and be it yay or nay. I think our workshops, and it is mentioned on page 13, I think that they've been a great inclusion in what we do, and they're relaxed and open conversation to do with anything that might be coming to the agenda or contentious issues, and I think we have that discussion that day. So, but I do commend you on your comments here today. Okay, councillors, I'm sorry, Councillor Forbes, yes. Microphone, please. Yep.
I know we're talking about the amendment to 4, but I'd like to sort of just get a clarification on 5, if I could, please.
Yep, no problems, councillor. So 5 is, councillors, that council no longer hold extraordinary meetings in September for elections of the mayor, deputy mayor, election of the council representation on committees, and determination of schedule for council meetings for the preceding year. Mr. CE.
Through Mr Mayor, this is quite a simple one, so instead of having 2 agendas, they're going to be combined, so it's just the one agenda.
Part of the meeting, councillor. Yep, but good question. Yep. Right, we put the amendment, councillors. All in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you. And that's it, isn't it?
You've got to move the motion,
What are we going to do?
the motion, the whole motion.
Oh, sorry, right, now we've moved to the amendment, thank you. So now we're doing the officer's recommendation. Obviously 4 is out. All in favour of the officer's recommendation?
Mr Mayor, I want to say something before you do that,
Right.
if it's all right.
Yeah, all allowed.
Just on Councillor Forbes's question there, I thought we asked a question sometime previously about holding the extraordinary meeting in September, which was answered well at the moment. I thought we were going to delay it till November meeting for the new councillors when they get elected to actually choose and see what goes on first. I know it puts us behind a...
I don't think you can do it, councillor.
Yeah, I just wondered.
Oh, well, I don't think you can. Once
Yeah.
the election, the next local government election's held,
Yeah.
I think it's law that... Can you want to speak on that, Mr. C?
Yeah,
Just for some clarity.
Yeah.
Fair question.
through Mr Mayor.
Order, please.
Through Mr Mayor, the new council will decide who's the mayor and deputy mayor once the elections happen, which
Yeah.
I think's in the 3rd week in September or 2nd week in September 2020. 13th of September, ring a bell, but and then council's got 9 months or the 30th of June, whichever comes first, to then review the address to the community strategic plan, which is the 4-year delivery plan and 1-year operational plan, which will set the targets for the 4 years and the budget for the first of the 4 years.
Yeah, my concern was when I first got elected, I wasn't too sure what these committees were all about, and what committee should you be on? I just
Okay.
Yeah, that's where I'm coming from.
Okay, thank you, councillor. Well, we'll go to CE for some comment there.
Through you, Mr Mayor, once the new council is elected, it's no different to the mayor or deputy mayor's role. The new council will have to decide who is on which committee, whether there's too many, too few committees, and who is elected on them, and so on and so forth. It's no different.
Yeah. So just before we go to your councillor, I'm happy to have this conversation, but councillor, you have raised a good point, and please say whether I'm right or wrong. So what you're saying, you know, although in the new council in 2020, that the mayor and the deputy mayor would be elected, but what you're saying is those committees should be held back for a while so the new council get a bit of a view on what's actually going on?
Yeah, Either that or explain to what these committees do.
Okay.
I'm not too sure because I think there's a few committees here we should be looking hard at.
Yep, righto. Councillor Bromwich, to do with this conversation?
Absolutely. I was just going to facilitate that.
Right.
Any new council, like at any new council election, I was just going to suggest that there be a little information booklet for the new councillors when they do their inductions, etc., with a bit of a summary of what each of those committees do,
Yeah.
and then that would help them
Yeah.
determine whether it's a suitable committee for
Yeah.
their expertise.
Yeah.
So,
Maybe we could work towards something like that. It's a good suggestion. Yep. See?
Through you, Mr Mayor, Local Government New South Wales and also I think the ALG have got a kit for that express purpose for election times. And we'll need to expand on that and tentativise it, as in adjust it to our modus operandi.
Is that a new word?
I just made it up.
Good.
Do not confuse it.
Righto. I've allowed that because it is sort of loosely aligned with what we're doing. So anyway, we'll go back to the officer's recommendation. Remember that we voted on the amendment to take number 4 out. So with number 4 out, all happy with the officer's recommendation, all in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you. That's it, Nolene, isn't it?
That's it, that's this one.
Okay, so we'll close this, the extraordinary meeting.
And you need to wait until Julie gets the other one left up.
Thank you all very much.
Yeah, there's two staff present.